Most of us think we're pretty good at reading people, but what if I told you that the way you're doing it is probably, well, all wrong? In this explainer, we're going to tear that down and rebuild with a completely new framework, the one the real experts use to get to the truth.
So let's just start with a really direct question. What if your built-in system for judging people is just broken? I mean, that gut feeling you rely on, what if it's actually pointing you in the wrong direction over and over again? Just being open to that possibility, that's the real first step to getting this right.
Okay, so here's what pretty much all of us do, and we do it in a split second. We see something, right? A crossed arm, maybe a weird pause, and bam, we immediately slap a label on it. Oh, they're defensive, or they're totally hiding something. And then for the rest of the conversation, our brain is just hunting for clues to prove that we were right all along. It's a total recipe for getting it wrong.
Look, this isn't about you being bad at this. It's not a personal failing. We're all wired this way. Our brains are basically built for speed, not accuracy, especially when it comes to people. And to really get why, we've got to look at these powerful biases that are always running in the background, kind of like apps on your phone draining your battery.
So your brain has these three, let's call them prime directives, that get in the way of seeing people clearly. First up, protect your ego at all costs. It is so much easier to label someone arrogant than it is to think, maybe I'm being a little intimidating, right? Second, it absolutely hates uncertainty. It'll grab onto any conclusion, doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, just to have an answer. And third, and this is a big one, it needs to prove you're right. It just becomes this confirmation machine, constantly scanning for anything that backs up that first gut feeling you have.
So the big question is, how do we fight this stuff? These biases are so powerful. And here's the secret. You can't just try harder. That's not going to cut it. It just doesn't work. What you need is a completely different system, a whole new mental framework for processing what you're seeing and hearing.
And here's a really great way to think about it. Your current process, it's like running on Windows 95. It's outdated, it's full of bugs, it's constantly crashing and giving you errors. What we're going to do here is install a serious upgrade. We're talking a brand new professional-grade psychological operating system, one that's actually designed for accuracy. Okay, so this is the system the pros use. And just look at how different it is from what we talked about earlier. Notice what's missing? Judgment. It's completely gone. Instead, after you observe something, you first put it in context. Then you compare it to how that person normally acts, and only then, after you've done all that data collection, do you even begin to carefully infer what it might mean. It's discipline, for sure, but man, does it work.
And this gets us to a really core idea in this expert system. Think about it. People have almost total control over the words they say. Words can be cheap, right? They can be easy, they can be a total smokescreen. But their actions, things like timing, their consistency, all those little nonverbal signals that just kind of leak out, well, those are way, way harder to fake. And that's usually where the truth is hiding.
All right, so to get this new operating system running smoothly, you're going to need three absolutely essential tools. You can think of them like the must-have software packages you install right after a clean setup. Without these three, even the best framework is just going to fail.
Okay, first, and honestly, this is the most critical one, the baseline. You have to know what someone looks and sounds like when they're just normal, when they're calm, relaxed, not under any pressure. Are they a person who's naturally fidgety? Do they normally avoid a lot of eye contact? If you don't know their baseline, you have absolutely nothing to compare their current behavior to. It's all just noise.
And this right here gets to the absolute heart of it. You got to forget all those pop psychology myths you've heard. The whole liars always look away thing, or crossed arms always mean they're defensive. It's mostly nonsense. A behavior only starts to mean something when it's a deviation, a change from that person's own unique individual baseline. That's it.
Pillar number 2 is what we call signal clustering. And man, this is where so many of us get it wrong. We'll see one little thing, a single twitch, one nervous glance, and we immediately leap to this huge conclusion. But you have to understand, a single signal is just noise. It's static. On its own, it means absolutely nothing.
But when you start to see a cluster of signals all pointing in the same direction, now we're talking. Now you've got real data. So for example, let's say someone starts giving you much shorter answers, and there's a weird little delay before they respond, and you notice their normal hand gestures have kind of vanished. And on top of all that, their phrasing gets super defensive. See, that's a cluster. That's a pattern that you should definitely be paying attention to.
And finally, our third pillar is context. This is huge. You just can't analyze behavior in a vacuum. It's impossible. The very same action can mean totally different things based on the situation.
You always have to be asking yourself, okay, what's the pressure here? What's at stake for these people? Who holds the power in this room right now?
I mean, just think about it this way. Somebody's sweating while they're giving a huge, high-stakes presentation to the board. Yeah, that's pretty normal, right? The context is pure pressure. But what if that same person is sweating like that during a super casual, low-key chat over coffee? Whoa, now that's a signal. The context completely flips the meaning of the exact same behavior.
Okay, so we've got the framework, we've got the 3 core tools. But listen, none of that matters, not one bit, if you don't have the right internal mindset. This next part isn't about them, it's about managing you. And this right here, this is your secret weapon, emotional neutrality. I'm serious. If you're feeling triggered or defensive, or you're just desperate for things to go a certain way, your perception is totally shot. It's compromised. Your own emotions will start to paint a picture that just isn't real. You'll end up seeing what you're afraid of or what you're hoping for instead of what's actually in front of you.
There's a reason why the absolute best interrogators and negotiators train for emotional control above everything else. They know from hard experience that the second they get emotionally invested, it's game over. Their ability to see the board clearly just evaporates. Their accuracy goes right off a cliff.
So how do you get there? How do you achieve that neutrality? You have to build a mental firewall, a hard separation between data and story. The data is the simple, verifiable fact. They paused for exactly 3 seconds. That's it. The story is what our brain immediately wants to do. Aha, they're lying. The real discipline, the hard part, is learning to just stay with the raw data and fight that incredibly powerful urge to write a story about.
And this is going to sound a little weird, a little counterintuitive, but being super smart can actually work against you here. Yeah, really. Intelligent people are often brilliant at creating very convincing stories, and they do it really, really fast. But genuine insight? That doesn't come from intelligence. It comes from patience. The patience to just sit back, to observe, and to let the patterns reveal themselves to you over time.
Okay, so I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but how do I actually do any of this? So let's get super practical. I'm going to give you a simple protocol, a little exercise that you can literally start using today. Here's the challenge for you. For just 1 week, try this out. Every day, pick one person. Could be anyone. A coworker, the barista at your coffee shop, a family member. And your only job is to observe them. That's it. No judging, no labeling. Just notice their baseline. How do they normally talk? How do they stand? What are their typical gestures? Then, just watch for any changes from that baseline. And this is the most important part. Do not react. Don't say anything. Your only job is to be a scientist, a data collector. Just log what you see and nothing more.
So why bother with this? What's the point? It's because this little exercise trains the single most fundamental skill there is: perception before persuasion. And I don't care if you're in sales, if you're a leader, or if you're just trying to have better relationships. The ability to see the situation clearly first, that is the bedrock, the foundation of every single effective interaction you will ever have.
Because at the end of the day, true power, real influence, it doesn't come from being the loudest person in the room. Not at all. It comes from being the most observant one. It's about learning to see the entire game board with perfect clarity. It's about seeing more, speaking less, and then acting with precision only when the moment is exactly right. That, my friends, is the real way to read people.